At the last Barrie Affordability Committee meeting, Mayor Alex Nuttall recused himself from an issue. His second declared conflict of interest this month. The last came over the sign bylaw, where he cited his wife's business. This time he pointed to her potential business interest, but never spelled out what the conflict actually was before removing himself from the meeting. The matter he stepped away from was Dunsire's application to rezone 750 Mapleview Drive East.
I'm just realizing the subject lands, the proponent, is this related to
Dunsire, correct.
Dunsire? Madam Clerk, I have a potential pecuniary interest in the matter, and I would like to remove myself from the meeting. The rationale behind the potential pecuniary interest is my wife's potential business interest. So
the plan is two six-story buildings holding 124 purpose-built rental units split evenly between 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. Brandy Clement of the Jones Consulting Group presented it as intensification beside the South Barrie GO Station.
The development that's proposed for the land is 2 buildings. Each of these buildings will be 6 stories in height, and each of the buildings will have 62 residential units. So a total of 124 residential units for the lands.
Residents and councillors focused on 2 things. Parking drew the most attention.
I was in attendance at the neighborhood meeting on March 31st, and I think that's probably why there's not a lot of residents here today or online, because there was a number of residents there, and I think the applicant actually did a great job of answering questions. Just 2 points. My one concern is parking.
The application asked for 0.9 spaces per unit against the bylaw's 1.5, leaving the site roughly 20 spaces short. The second question was unit size. Ward 10 councillor Bryn Hamilton and a resident asked about the missing 3-bedroom units and whether the building would really serve families.
It really came down to what we felt from a efficiency standpoint and reduced vacancy. This product type has essentially worked very well, and I think when we're developing purpose-built rentals, our goal is always to maximize the amount of space that's being occupied and people actually getting in it. So I think with the addition of tandem parking as well, it really opens up that opportunity to have larger families be accommodated, and I think they're sizable units, so I think it could work.
Later in the same meeting, a Barrie physician asked council to scrap the city's new $50 million defense investment program and urged investment in healthcare, housing and education. The exchange that followed ended with the Mayor Alex Nuttall calling for his microphone to be cut. Mayor Alex Nuttall introduced it as a support for sovereign defense investment.
This new program is to support sovereign defense investment in Barrie and backed by an initial $50 million from the Tax Capital Reserve. The program builds on our broader strategy to position Barrie as a defense-ready city, supporting jobs, investment, and long-term economic growth.
Dr. Mac Chow, speaking for Simcoe County for Palestine, urged council to reconsider.
This push, while couched in the language of sovereignty and defense, is simply an effort to give concessions to American weapons companies and curry favor with the Trump regime. We are told that we should be grateful for any jobs that these companies bring into our community, regardless of the moral and psychological impact of this type of employment. We have a perfect example of how the arms industry in Canada works just 45 minutes north of us in Midland, Ontario. There, workers at Raytheon Elcan make parts of the GPS-guided Tomahawk missile, which was used in February to carry out a bombing on a children's school in Iran, killing 170 mostly school children. Government spending on military production is an inefficient way to create jobs. When governments spend $1 million on weapons production, about 5 jobs are created. When they spend that same amount on education, 13 jobs are created and 8 for healthcare. This is because spending on social services helps meet people's basic needs, which allows them to participate more fully in their community, including by working.
Nuttall pushed back, asking whether Chow has spoken with executives at Royal Victoria Regional Health Centre. He also asked whether Chow knew SAFE, which the mayor described as European Union-linked defense program, not one tied to the United States or President Donald Trump.
And you had a third question, which was about the housing. And so, are you familiar with the decisions the City of Barrie has made in terms of housing?
I am familiar, yes.
Can you tell me?
There's many decisions that the City of Barrie has made on housing, right? What I'm talking about is the question of this $50 million.
So in terms of affordable housing,
that should go.
In terms of affordable housing, the City of Barrie invested $80 million in a fund last August and September.
Right, so this is another $50 million though, right, which could also be used.
As he pressed the point, Nuttall told the chair to shut the microphone off, ending the exchange even as the mayor kept speaking.
for
No,
building housing?
actually, no. So we'll send you the information so you have it, but the program wasn't fully utilized. So there was a $17 million amount that was left over that wasn't utilized because we didn't have it on the community. And the dollar for dollar, when you compare it against the county program that you just talked about, tonight we just approved $225,000 to the rent supplement program to help the county with funding that's coming.
225,000 compared to 50 million?
So, Mr. Chair, maybe we should shut the mic off. But the $225,000.
Following is the coverage of the meeting.
There are 3 public meetings being held this evening. If you are joining the meeting virtually and have not yet registered and wish to speak, please email cityclerks@barrie.ca and staff will email you the information to participate virtually. The first public meeting is to review an application submitted by the Jones Consulting Group Limited on behalf of Dunsire Properties, Inc. for an amendment to the zoning bylaw for 750 Mapleview Drive East. The second public meeting is to review a proposed update to the Employment Lands Development Community Improvement Plan for the City of Barrie. The third public meeting is to review an amendment to the zoning bylaw to support Canada's sovereign defense capabilities. Members of committee will be listening to the presentation and comments received during the public meeting, but will not be making comments or debating the items tonight. Committee members will have an opportunity to provide comments when the staff report is considered by General Committee at a later date. Interested persons wishing to receive notification of the staff report can sign the notification form at the back of the council chambers or by emailing cityclerks@barrie.ca. Michelle Banfield, Executive Director of Development Services, would you please confirm that the notifications were conducted in accordance with the Planning Act for tonight's public meeting?
Yes, Chair Nixon, it was.
Thank you. I will now call upon Brandy Clement from Jones Consulting Group Limited to provide the presentation concerning the amendments to the zoning bylaw for 750 Mapleview Drive East.
Good evening, members of staff and honorary council. Before I quickly turn it over to Brandy, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Terrence Sandhu, and I am the Land Development Manager from Dunsire Developments. Just a quick note, myself and our traffic engineer, civil engineer are also in attendance, should council have any questions after the application is presented. Just as a quick introduction, because this is Dunsire's first formal development application, I just wanted to note that we have been in the community since 2024, and apart from this parcel being part of the greater subdivision that we own, we have also recently acquired the Raceway project, also known as formerly as the Fairview Grounds. That being said, part of my saying that is we bring a wealth of experience with us, and we really value community building. So we really look forward to building a relationship here with this site as our first application. And when you are looking at this application, I would just ask that this specific product type that we're bringing forth is a product that has been built over 85 times across North America. So yeah, with that, I'll turn it over to Brandy to speak on the technical aspects of it.
Thank you and good evening. So the subject lands are located on the north side of Mapleview Drive East. They are east of the Yonge Street and Mapleview Drive intersection and east of the South GO Station. They are rectangular in shape, approximately 1.2 hectares in area. The developable area is...
Point of order, Madam Clerk. I'm just realizing the subject lands, the proponent, is this related to
Dunsire, correct.
Dunsire? Madam Clerk, I have a potential pecuniary interest in the matter, and I would like to remove myself from the meeting as soon as the Deputy Mayor gets back in. Is there quorum when I declare you still have quorum? You're good? Okay. And the rationale behind the potential pecuniary interest is my wife's potential business interest. So that is it.
Chair Nixon, Mayor Nuttall's conflict has been noted.
Thank you. And do we need... Deputy Mayor Thompson? For quorum, we're good? Okay. Please continue.
Continue. Thank you. So as I was noting, the area of the lands are 1.2 hectares. The developable area is 0.99 hectares. There's 90 meters approximately of frontage on Mapleview Drive East. Lands are vacant. They have been previously disturbed from past construction activity. Surrounding land uses include commercial uses to the west. To the northwest and northeast, there is a combination of future and existing residential uses, as well as environmental protection lands. To the south, there are existing and future residential uses. And to the southwest, there are institutional uses. There are a variety of housing types in this immediate area. To the east of the property in the existing subdivision, there are single detached dwellings as well as townhouse dwellings. To the west, which are also part of the Dunsire land holdings, there are existing townhouse dwellings. And then directly across the street, there are apartment buildings up to 6 stories in height. The development that's proposed for the land is 2 buildings. Each of these buildings will be 6 stories in height, and each of the buildings will have 62 residential units. So a total of 124 residential units for the lands. That's a density of approximately 125 units per net residential hectare. Surface parking is provided, as well as there is a 2-story parking structure in the northeast corner of the lands. There's bicycle parking provided, as well as there is electric vehicle parking provided. These are purpose-built rental units. There is an even split between, a 50-50 split between 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. Building B is located directly adjacent to Mapleview Drive East to provide that street presence. The Building A is located on the north side of the lands adjacent to the environmental protection lands. Access to the lands is off of Mapleview Drive East. There's 1 access point, as well as there is a western access point that goes into the existing development, which is part of the Dunsire land holdings. We are proposing in the future a 3rd access on the east side, and that will go into a future phase of Dunsire land holdings as well. There is landscaping that will be provided around the site, which will certainly be a detail of site plan control. There are 2 amenity spaces that are provided, each directly adjacent to the buildings. We have provided areas for waste management. It will be, at this time, we're looking at private waste collection. And the footprint, the building footprint, as well as the footprint for the parking itself, will respect the current environmental lands on the property. On the right side of the slide, you will see a rendering, and that will give you an example of what the buildings could look like on the property. Again, they're 6-story buildings. There will be a high level of architectural treatment provided on the facades. All of the units themselves will have balconies. There will be different color schemes that will be used that will complement the surrounding area, as well as the existing development to the west. There will be a mix of different types of materials on the facade, such as siding, brick, and or stone, and there will be landscape features used throughout to soften the aesthetics of the buildings. So the application that we've submitted to the city is to rezone the lands from the residential multiple dwelling second density special provision 569 zone and the environmental protection zone to the apartment dwelling second density special provision zone and environmental protection zone. This slide identifies the applicable policies within the provincial planning statement that support the development that we are proposing. Generally, we're directing development to a settlement area as well as to a strategic growth area, that being a major transit station area. These are areas where the focus should be intensification on the lands as well as compact built forms. The development will also contribute to the city's residential growth targets and a range of housing options that are provided in the city, while assisting in achieving the density targets that are required across the MTSA. The development will utilize planned and existing infrastructure. The road network does have sufficient capacity to sustain the traffic that will be as a result of the development itself. The development encourages active transportation. There are walkways that will be provided throughout to provide that community connectivity, and there are no negative impacts to any natural heritage features or functions. Designation on the lands is neighborhood area and natural heritage system. On map 1, the lands are also located within a major transit station area. There's a small piece that's within the natural heritage system and green space, and then the lands are within the overlay designation of a designated greenfield area. The official plan directs growth to the major transit station areas. The lands in the designated greenfield areas are to develop with diverse mixed use options as well as housing options. The neighborhood area designation permits buildings up to 6 stories in height with an implementing zoning bylaw as long as you are outside of a historic neighborhood, which these lands are. So an official plan amendment application is not required for the property as the use and the density and the height is permitted in the official plan. Lands are zoned RM2, SP-569, and EP. And we are proposing to rezone the lands to the RA2-1 zone with special provisions and the EP, Environmental Protection Zone. So you can see what that would look like on the left side of the slide. There's a number of exceptions that we are requesting in the zoning bylaw amendment. The first one is to permit tandem parking. So we have 12 parking spaces within the surface parking where we are asking that the tandem parking be permitted. We're also asking for a reduced standard of 0.90 spaces per unit. So there's a total of 118 spaces on the lands. That says 117, it's an error. The 12 tandem parking spaces are in addition to the 118 parking spaces. So there are actually 130 spaces on the property, but we are asking for that reduced standard based on only the 118 spaces. We are asking for a minimum front yard setback of 3 meters, a minimum side yard setback of 4 meters, minimum rear yard setback of 6 meters, a minimum landscaped open space of 31%, a maximum lot coverage for accessory buildings, in this case that's the parking structure, of 11%, a maximum lot coverage for parking of 40%, and to permit a landscape buffer area of 3 meters along the rear lot line only. There's a number of technical reports and plans and studies that were completed and submitted in support of the application. Certainly those are all available online for anyone to download and review if they so choose. So in conclusion, the proposed application is consistent with the applicable policies of the provincial planning statement. The application conforms to the applicable policies of the city's official plan. The proposal supports intensification within the city's settlement area, built boundary, and within a major transit station area where higher density development is encouraged. Proposed scale and form of development are appropriate for the site and the surrounding area. The development will add purpose-built rentals and contribute to a greater mix of housing options within the city. Proposal utilizes existing municipal infrastructure, directs growth along an arterial road and along a transit corridor while avoiding impacts to natural heritage features. And in my professional planning opinion, the proposed zoning bylaw application represents good and desirable planning for this city. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are any members of the public who wish to provide comments, please approach the podium and begin by stating your first and last name for the record. And a reminder that you will have 5 minutes once you start. Go ahead.
Titus, 39 Toronto Street. I'm a resident of Barrie and being aware of we have some little problem.
I'm sorry, could I get your first and last name for the record?
Titus. Being a resident of a building in Barrie, I'm aware that some little problem because it's an old building. My question would be on what would be the main structure of the construction? Wood, concrete, or steel? Very simple.
Based on our previous builds for this type of structure.
Sir, we don't do back and forth. The staff will take that. Thank you, though. We appreciate. But staff will reach out to the gentleman and answer questions.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber that has any comments or questions? Okay. A reminder that each speaker has 5 minutes, and please, when you approach the podium, please begin by stating your first and last name and address for the record.
This one?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, my phone. Hi, my name is Giorgio Capucin, and I'm just would like to know about more develop. What's the purpose of those building entrances? It was said for rental purpose, but the thing is that how it's gonna be increase rental capacity, and in terms of if it's for the families or just for people who are gonna be young professionals. Because in reality, we would like in our city to increase more families coming to the city. And what I noticed in this proposal that we have lots of units, but we don't have enough space for children. Because if you look at the proposed design, over there is a small playground, but there is not enough for children. And we have more parking spaces than space for children to live in that proposed project.
Okay, and thank you for that. And Ms. Banfield, do you have the information to respond, or would you do that now?
Through your Chair Nixon, we would most likely do that at the staff report, but I think he's asking if there was a mix of unit sizes, and I'm not sure if the unit size breakdown is firmed up yet. So more details can come. We'll make sure we respond back.
Okay, thank you. And staff will respond to you, sir.
What I was saying, it's not about unit size, it's more about if it's for children, like more like for rentals or more like for families to build their families.
Through your Chair Nixon, it's my understanding that it's a purpose-built rental, so it would be rental units, not for purchase.
Oh, okay.
Is there anyone else in the chamber that would like to comment? No? Okay, thank you. Do we know if we have anyone registered virtually? No. Okay. Ward 10 Councillor Hamilton, do you have any questions of clarification?
Thank you, and through you, Chair Nixon, I appreciate the presentation. I was in attendance at the neighborhood meeting on March 31st, and I think that's probably why there's not a lot of residents here today or online, because there was a number of residents there, and I think the applicant actually did a great job of answering questions, mostly concerning, plans for parkland, open spaces, amenity spaces, and I think that was captured in sort of the future development in its entirety, and I think that was great. No concerns from what's being proposed here and the look and feel of it. Purpose-built rental, I do think it's filling a bit of a gap in the city and adding to the mix of housing options, as you alluded to. Just 2 points. My one concern is parking, and I know I brought this up before. I think parking is always a challenge, especially when you're not dealing with areas, in the downtown. In Ward 10, most people have to drive, right, to pick up kids, drop off kids, grocery stores. And so looking at the parking, I just wanted to clarify one thing. So from my understanding, the 2009 bylaw was 1.5 parking spots per unit. The new incoming bylaw is going to be 1.2 parking spots per unit, and what they're requesting is 0.9. So that would be 129 spots. I think you said 130 is what is being proposed, whereas the requirement would be 149 spots. So you're short by about 20 spots. But then you said plus the tandem. Are they able to? Yeah.
So there's 118 spots plus the 12 tandem for a total of 130.
Okay, so we are still roughly 20 spots short. So that would be my one concern, and I think concern of residents too. I'm even hearing now in the development, parking. It's always an issue. So again, we have these bylaws for a reason and the standards behind them. We implement for a reason. So I'm always very cautious deterring from that because I know the downwind costs of it, right? And the complaints and the challenges that residents have to deal with. So that's something I know I am just throwing back at you, and I know you're probably aware already, but I do think consideration should be given to parking, and if there's opportunity, reconfigure additional tandem spots, I don't know. But that's just one item. And then the only other item, and I think you had said it's 1 and 2 bedrooms broken down to roughly 50-50 split. And I just wanted to question, there's no 3 bedrooms at all. I think Ms. Banfield alluded to that the mix wasn't quite finalized yet, and I was just wondering the decision behind that and whether, 3-bedroom may come into the fold at all as we look to families and growing families and who we're really looking to attract to this.
So you're correct that there are no 3 bedrooms. It's a 50-50 split between 1 and 2 bedrooms. This is a product that Dunsire has certainly used and has been successful throughout the country, really. And so this is the mix that they have come to use. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add in terms of 3 bedrooms and why there isn't a mix of 3 bedrooms, but...
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the comment, Councillor Hamilton, and I think Brandy more or less answered that. It really came down to what we felt from a efficiency standpoint and reduced vacancy. This product type has essentially worked very well, and I think when we're developing purpose-built rentals, our goal is always to maximize the amount of space that's being occupied and people actually getting in it. So I think with the addition of tandem parking as well, it really opens up that opportunity to have larger families be accommodated, and I think they're sizable units, so I think it could work.
Thank you, appreciate that. No other questions or concerns from my end. Again, I think what is being proposed fits the area quite well. I'm excited about obviously more housing and purpose-built rentals, so it's great. But those would just be my 2 comments to take into consideration, and maybe I'll follow up with staff later just in terms of rental in our city currently and the mix between single, double, and 3 bedrooms, because I'm just not sure where we're needing the most. And I guess I'm just wanting to make sure with the single and double rooms, we're hitting the mark on what's needed for the city. But I'll take that offline otherwise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If anyone has any further written comments, you can submit them to Rachel Mulholland, planner at rachel.mulholland@barrie.ca. Moving to our second public meeting. There will be no presentation this evening as the proposed update to the Employment Lands Development Community Improvement Plan for the City of Barrie was introduced by Mayor Nuttall pursuant to Bill 3, the Strong Mayors Building Homes Act 2022, in accordance with subsection 284.3, subsection B of the Municipal Act 2001, S.O. 2001, Section 25 as amended, and further to Mayoral Direction MDIR 007-26. That was a lot, yeah. The purpose of the amendment is to enhance Barrie's strategic position to support and grow Ontario's defense industry and add an additional program, the Sovereign Defense Investment Readiness Program. There is one member of the public who has pre-registered to speak in person. I now invite Mackenzie Chone. Oh, excuse me, I may have proceeded out of order here. Mayor Nuttall, did you have comments?
Yeah, just wanted to give the actual scope of the program and then certainly hand it over to the public. And I wanted to say thank you to Ms. Schlichter and Ms. Banfield for the work that you've done between the announcement at CanSec and today. So this new program is to support sovereign defense investment in Barrie and backed by an initial $50 million from the tax capital reserve. The program builds on our broader strategy to position Barrie as a defense-ready city, supporting jobs, investment, and long-term economic growth. The goal is simple: attract and accelerate high-value defense projects that deliver strong economic benefits, and specifically this program will target projects that create jobs, that drive private investment, and strengthen Canada's domestic defense capabilities as identified through Canada's defense industrial strategy. It has 2 tracks. The first is the Sovereign Defense Investment Readiness Program. This is a continuous intake. It directly supports new builds on employment lands through development charge abatements scaled to project size. and it ensures Barrie remains competitive for major greenfield investment opportunities that will arise through the Defence Industrial Strategy. The second is the Industrial Space Activation Program, which will also be a continuous intake. It supports projects that need to move quickly into existing industrial buildings, offers forgivable loan to offset eligible development costs, with funding being tied to investments and job outcomes. How to work: a $50 million fund will be allocated on a first-come, first-serve basis across both programs, and the city will assess each application based on the economic impact and project merit against the measurables that I've just discussed. So that is the background, and I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Mackenzie, the floor is yours. You will have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you state your address, please? We have your name, but address for the record.
Sure. My name's Mac Chown. I live at 56 Marion Crescent in Barrie. I'm a resident of Barrie, a father, a husband, a physician, and an organizer with Simcoe County for Palestine. 3 weeks ago, we learned of Mayor Nuttall's intention to give $50 million of our tax dollars to a weapons company who might set up shop in Barrie. This generous offer brings Barrie into alignment with Carney and Ford's push for more and more and more military spending. This push, while couched in the language of sovereignty and defense, is simply an effort to give concessions to American weapons companies and curry favor with the Trump regime. We are told that we should be grateful for any jobs that these companies bring into our community, regardless of the moral and psychological impact of this type of employment. We have a perfect example of how the arms industry in Canada works just 45 minutes north of us in Midland, Ontario. There, workers at Raytheon Alcan make parts of the GPS-guided Tomahawk missile, which was used in February to carry out a bombing on a children's school in Iran, killing 170 mostly school children. This is the role of Midland workers in this supply chain, and this is exactly how the Canadian weapons industry is supposed to work. Companies in Canada, who are often owned and operated by Americans, make parts of the weapons that get shipped to the US and incorporated into full weapons systems. The companies expect to have full access to the massive market that is the American war machine, so our government imposes no checks or balances that would ensure that the products we make are used responsibly. Any weapons company that sets up in Barrie, even a weapons company that's a Canadian weapons company, would want access to the American market and would want to operate the same way as Raytheon, making our neighbors, parents, and children partners in this bloody game. We can do better with $50 million of our tax dollars. Government spending on military production is an inefficient way to create jobs. When governments spend $1 million on weapons production, about 5 jobs are created. When they spend that same amount on education, 13 jobs are created and 8 for healthcare. This is because spending on social services helps meet people's basic needs, which allows them to participate more fully in their community, including by working. For example, if you spend on long-term care beds, you directly create employment by hiring nurses and PSWs, but you also indirectly create jobs by freeing up caregivers. If a middle-aged person is looking after their elderly parent, when that parent finds placement in long-term care, the middle-aged person can then pick up time at work. So there's an amplified benefit to the investment in social services. They are better for the economy than investments in military production. When you read this amendment in the Community Improvement Plan, it's clear that job creation is a secondary consideration. It defines the discounts that weapons companies will receive with numbers attached, but it does not specify any minimum number of jobs that should be created. It only states that, quote, priority will be given to projects that have a large amount of new/redeveloped gross floor plan, aka big projects, and large investment values, aka expensive, or significant employment impact. So as vague and underwhelming as the term significant employment impact is, even that is not required by the letter of this plan, as long as the project is physically large and expensive. I don't think this wording is an oversight, but even if it is, it clearly shows where the priorities lie. Why not stipulate that the company must create a certain number of jobs, or link the discounts that they receive to the number of jobs created? This would have been an easy requirement to put in if creating jobs was the point, instead of giving handouts to weapons company execs. It's almost like this amendment was written by one of those execs, and maybe it was. We may get more information on the big winner before the municipal election in the fall. Simcoe County for Palestine will continue campaigning on this issue through the summer, and I invite anyone here, including any councillors who want to break ranks, to sign the public letter that I have attached and get in touch. I have about a minute left, so I'm just going to put forward a couple concrete questions that I'd like to have answered by staff. So the first one is a breakdown of the 50 million. I was interested to hear, Mayor Nuttall, that you said it was coming from tax capital reserve. And I understand you can't answer this question directly right now, but perhaps this is a question for staff later. How much of it is coming from tax capital reserve, and what's the cost of the waived development charges? Because I know that was part of the program, the Sovereign Investment Readiness Program, was that the development charges would be waived. So is that incorporated in that 50 million, or is that an additional sum of money? The second question I have is I'd like to see a study of what jobs could be created if this same amount of money was diverted into building non-market homes, similar to the co-op model that the County of Simcoe currently operates. And just quickly, my last question is, why is it necessary, this is pertaining to the next item on the agenda, why is it necessary with concrete examples to allow companies to be exempt from zoning bylaws? Thanks.
Mayor Nuttall, the floor is yours.
Just a quick question. Have you had any conversations with any of the RVH hospital execs on considerations of the City of Barrie and to support for the same things you're talking about tonight in terms of investment in healthcare? So there's 8 jobs for every $1 million.
Yeah.
Have you had any of those conversations?
No.
I would encourage you to. 2, have you heard of SAFE? Do you know what SAFE is?
No.
Okay, so I would encourage you to go look at what SAFE is. It's not going to the United States. It's not going to President Trump. It's actually building Canadian sovereignty away from that. It's tied to basically the European Union, or at least the main powers in the European Union.
So would Rachel Elton be included in that?
I would encourage to, Canada signed up on that. That's federal government, not us. So, but I would encourage you just to go take a look at that, because there's lots of information in there that can be looked at. And you had a third question, which was about the housing. And so, are you familiar with the decisions the City of Barrie has made in terms of housing?
I am familiar, yes.
Can you tell me?
There's many decisions that the City of Barrie has made on housing, right? What I'm talking about is the question of this $50 million.
So in terms of affordable housing,
where that should go.
In terms of affordable housing, the City of Barrie invested $80 million in a fund last August and September, which has yielded, I believe, because of our vote 2 weeks ago, about 420 units of affordable housing coming forward, on top of, inside of, about 2,000 new purpose-built rental, which is on top of another probably 1,000 purpose-built rental and affordable housing units that are being built in the City of Barrie. So we can provide that information to you. I know that staff will get back to you with the rest of the questions, like answers to the questions that you asked, but we will also provide you all of that information, because the dollars that the city has invested, we're actually seeing every crane you see in the sky is likely part of that program to build affordable housing in the City of Barrie.
Right, so this is another 50 million though, right? Which could also be used for
No,
building housing.
actually, no. So we'll send you the information so you have it, but the program wasn't fully utilized. So there was a $17 million amount that was left over that wasn't utilized because we didn't have it on the community. And the dollar for dollar, when you compare it against the county program that you just talked about, tonight we just approved $225,000 to the rent supplement program to help the county with funding that's coming.
225,000 compared to 50 million?
So, Mr. Chair, maybe we should shut the mic off. But the $225,000 that was approved tonight is the rent supplement program, but that's not the $80 million we approved and the $63 million that has actually been accepted. So what we're seeing in the City of Barrie is more affordable housing built right now, as we speak right now, than in the past 30 years probably combined. That is all because council has made and made the decisions and encouraged in the way that you've articulated you would like that to be looked at tonight. The program was bigger than the actual amount that was taken by the private sector. And per unit, we're looking at somewhere between a fifth and an eighth of the cost that the county has to build affordable housing units. So it's incredibly efficient. So we'll send you all that information. Make sure that you have it, sir. And I think that will certainly help in terms of answering many of the questions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. If anyone has any further written comments, you can submit them to Michelle Banfield, Executive Director of Development Services, at michelle.banfield@barrie.ca. We will move to our third public meeting. There will be no presentation this evening as the proposed zoning bylaw amendment was introduced by Mayor Nuttall pursuant to Bill 3, the Strong Mayor's Building Homes Act 2022, in accordance with subsection 284 3, subsection B of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, and further to Mayoral Direction MDIR 007-26. Purpose of this amendment is to support Canada's sovereign defense capabilities. And we have one member of the public who has pre-registered, and is that Mr. Chone again? You're fine? All right. Okay, is there anyone else in the chamber? Okay. Now, again, if anyone has any further written comments, you can submit them to Michelle Banfield, Executive Director of Development Services, at michelle.banfield@barrie.ca. And that moves us to adjournment. And this concludes the Affordability Committee meeting. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
For Simcoe Community Media, I am Deepak Bidwai. This story was supported by the Local Journalism Initiative.